Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Tough Talking Thursday on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's topic, President George Weah and his chances for re-election 2023. My guests are joining me from the UK, Mr. Isaac W. Jackson. Mr. Jackson, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you very kindly. My pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Also joining us from Canada, Mr. George Tule. George, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you for having me once more, Dennis. I appreciate it.
Also joining us is Focus on Liberia Chief Political Analyst, who's joining us from the city of Philadelphia, Mr. Wilmot Wetty Cooney. Mr. Cooney, welcome.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to be on.
Last but not the least is the Honorable Akaros Moses Gray, who's joining us from the capital, Monrovia. Mr. Gray, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you very much, and I'm excited about the most informative program.
Thank you. In the back room, who is not on camera, is Focus on Liberia political bulldog, Mr. Anthony Sie. Mr. Sie, please keep things under control right there in the back room. We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. This is Focus on Liberia, where we educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. In the discussion tonight, we're going to be looking at President George Weah, an assessment of his presidency, and also his prospects for re-election come 2023. And so in this, we want to look at Liberia under President George Weah. We're going to do an assessment, we're going to take into consideration some key sectors: healthcare, education, security, infrastructural development, and the economy. Then we look at the accomplishment of President Weah. In those accomplishments, we're going to look at how his campaign promises pan out to what he has done so far. And then we look at the big document, the PAPD, that is the government's agenda for prosperity and development, to what extent this has been achieved. We'll use that as a basis to answer the question, will George Weah win a second term? If yes, why? If no, why not? Then we're going to deal with how is President Weah compared against a CPP ticket or against other candidates. We're going to throw some candidates out there. Last but not the least, we're going to enter our crossfire. So after my panelists have gone through that 2 minutes each responding to those questions, we're going to go through a period of rebuttal, question and answer, and what I call crossfire. Gentlemen, once again, welcome. And let me get your opening statement. Let's start with Honorable Gray. You have 1 minute for your opening statement, sir.
Thank you very much, and I'm excited to be on the all-important program looking at the healthcare, delivery, education, infrastructure, etc. The government has done extremely well, and I believe that by 2023, we'll be running on the basis of our achievements as opposed to what people think about. So basically, again, I'm excited to be on your program, and
Thank
wish
you.
to dive into the exigencies of the subject matter. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let me go to Mr. Josh Tule. Your opening.
Yeah, as usual, it's nice being here, and today is even more crowded than the other days. I got at least I have somebody to direct my comments to, and it's gonna be a nice evening. All right, I look forward to this. But today is not too happy. It's not a very happy day for me. My baby, precious Ireland, I know they had her wake this evening, and we all know the story. I know her life was cut short, unfortunately, by accidental discharge, and so tomorrow is her burial. And she was so precious to my wife and I. She was She was really her name. She meant her name to us. And unfortunately, her life was cut short. So today was the removal. It was a very moving and touching, occasion. And I pray that no family will have to endure this anymore in Liberia. So so I'm happy to be here, guys. Even though I'm not happy to be for the day, but we talk in Liberia. Something comes on in me when we talk about Liberia. So thank you.
Thank you, and we're very, very sorry for that tragic loss. We pray that you get all the comfort. Sorry. Let me go to Mr. Kuni, your opening statement.
Well, I'd like to convey my sincere condolences to Brother Tule and his family for that tragic incident. I'm happy to be here. As I indicated, this is one of the easiest topics for discussion and focus on Liberia as has been consistent with its mandate to discuss issue of Liberia, to elevate discussions about Liberia and to inform the Liberian people. Today, we'll be very proud to inform the Liberian people of the tremendous achievement of the George Weah administration and why we think he will win the mandate of the Liberian people come 2023. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gray. Oh, Mr. Jackson, sorry.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Brother Ja. Let me say good afternoon, good evening, and hello to everybody following the broadcast across the globe. I'd like to begin by extending heartfelt condolences to our brother Tule for the loss of the dear daughter. I don't think any family should endure such a painful situation, but that is life. And so I pray that you will be consoled by the Lord.
Thank you, guys.
With that being said, I think the first thing, let me start with a letter. Let me start on a letter note before we get into the detail. Honestly, I don't think Akara Gray should be on this show. It's a bit unorthodox, right? Because Akara is supposed to basically provide oversight related to some of the things we're supposed to be discussing. Since he's supposed to provide oversight, how can he not explain things when he's supposed to basically be asking his people at the Ministry of Panel and Development Planning whether or not these things are being done? But anyway, be that as it may, he's a star of the government. I think he needs to explain some things. But I think the anecdotal evidence will contradict some of the things he said. But I'll wait for us to go and start the conversation. But thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you. All right. So we're going to begin by with our first segment. That is Liberia under President George Weah. So to do an assessment of Liberia under President George Weah, we give each of you 2 minutes. Let me start with Mr. Tule to give your assessment of President George Weah. And we're going to be looking at healthcare, education, security, infrastructure, and the economy. Mr. Tule.
All right. Thank you again. If on the basis of grading the Liberian way from 0 to 100, I would be generous enough to give President Weah and Honorable Gray and the rest of them 45. That's being generous, because when we let's come to the meat of the thing. And you know what? The good thing about this topic places no emphasis on capital projects that we all know. Isaac know what happened, why people sign a lot of capital projects, because it causes the flow of cash into selective hands, not the general public. But let's come to the specifics. Healthcare. Our country still have one of the highest rates in the world of maternal mortality and early childhood mortality from 1 to 5. We have a high prevalence. We have a high occurrence of waterborne diseases in Liberia. Because I don't have the time right now, I could just go to the World Health Organization's report on Liberia, and I could pick up these numbers for you. Our healthcare system is so rudimentary. Up to now, we have not even developed a real emergency center at JFK. We have not developed a cardiovascular center at JFK. And Honorable Gray can bear me witness. In a month time, you will hear a lot of our friends dying from either heart attack, stroke. The person fell off. The person had stroke. The person had a cardiac arrest. The government has done nothing regarding these things. The healthcare, how you call it, the life expectancy of the average Liberian is reducing daily because a lot of young people are dying from preventable causes. That is a problem with the healthcare system. Educationally, we were around when our students massively failed the matriculation exam in the UL, and that is an indictment on our education system. President Weah inherited it, but he has done nothing really concrete to do anything to mitigate the issue. Now, I know my time is almost up, but this is what I want to say. My problem with the Weah administration is not only what is occurring, but is their lack of a substantive plan to transform these issues going forward. Okay, because you can even say we inherited it, we took our time to be able to gain mastery over the situation. But what is your plan going forward?
Thank you.
What tangible plans have you put together going forward? And that is one of the problems. They don't have any reasonable plan going forward.
Thank you. Mr. Kone, assess Liberia under President Weah using the same yardstick. Mr. Kone?
Y'all tell Kone to leave the basement and go upstairs and do the thing.
Mr. Kone, we can hear you.
I thought Gray was going to be the one struggling with internet.
Mr. Kone, we can hear you. Oh, sorry. Mr. Kone, come again.
Come again.
I said it is very, very much interesting to see people. Are you guys not hearing me?
Go ahead.
We're hearing you now. We're not hearing you before.
Please, assessment of Liberia under President Weah. Please go, Mr. Kone.
It is very interesting to see people who wasted 12 years of unbelievable economic support, international support to our country. They wasted it. They did nothing for the past 12 years. And they have the latitude to tell us what our country is today. The fact of the matter is the record will show that since George Weah became president, there has been incredible improvement in all of the metrics, whether it is healthcare, whether it is education, whether it is infrastructure. The evidence is all around. The brother made mention of the massive failure of Liberian students. That record has changed, has turned around in George Weah administration. I mean, the provision of fees, the policies for after-school programs, all of those things made an impact in the lives of Liberian students that created a new dynamic with regard to the YX fee. You're talking about infrastructure, go all around Monrovia and the country. You see the constructions of light all around the country. You talk about health. You see the construction of the military hospital, the ongoing construction of Redemption Clinic, the revitalization of the John F. Jackson F. Doe Hospital in Nima County, and you say nothing is done. There's people who do anything for the past 12 years. And this is the record the Liberian people will look at. It is this level of development that George Weah has brought to the country that the Liberian people will look at and compare it first to the failed 12 years and to other untested leaders that may be clamoring for leadership. And this is why we feel very confident that, the 2023 election is for the CDC to lose.
Thank you, Mr. Kone. Let me go to Mr. Jackson.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much. I think the government has many serious challenges ranging from the health care. Because if you're talking about healthcare, what they put in their PAPD was that they were going to equip the existing medical facilities in the country. There's not much we see at Tapeta. There's not much we see at GSK. In their plan, they talk about relocating retention. I don't know how much progress are being made relative to retention. And so it's one thing to construct a military hospital. It's another thing to equip the military hospital with medicament, right? So we don't have sufficient medical supply in the place. I don't know whether it's even functional now. So that's one aspect of the medical thing to the healthcare that I'm concerned about. The other thing is if you go down to even education, in the educational sector, what they're experiencing now under the Weah administration is a decreased number of intake of students as compared to the Selly administration where there was 1.3 million increase in the number of students. So notice that there are more dropout in the school going ages of children because of the economic hardship in the country. Parents are unable to send their children to school. That's a challenge. They are also having issue with retiring teachers and laying off teachers, and it's also creating demotivation in the educational system. So there's not effective supervision. In the early administration, there were increment in the salary of teacher, which basically encourage teacher from the private school to go and teach in the public school. We don't see that this now around nowadays, right? Then we go to security. When you go to security, as per the United Nations protocol and many of the other instruments that we subscribe to, we are supposed to discourage the recruitment of ex-combatants in the security apparatus. There are evidence. But still in flight. Just on security, my man.
Yeah, your time is up. We want to observe this time here. Let me go
No
to Mr.
problem,
Gray.
no problem. Yeah, but security, we have a challenge there.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Gray, your assessment
Yes,
of Liberia under President Weah.
I would love to begin with the issue of health. All right, let me just quote a Front Page Africa report. Liberia among 20 countries safe to travel. U.S. State Department declared on the basis of our fight against the deadly coronavirus, unprecedentedly ever in the world, of 197 countries in the world. That is an achievement that we need not to talk about, but we need to boast about. Nobody can argue that. Nobody dare argue that. Now, we constructed a 14 military hospital, and because of its construction, when people thought that it was useless to have done that, and that's how we fought the deadly coronavirus. At quarantine, people were prepared. Amongst the countries in Africa, Liberia was one of the best. 20 amongst 107 countries in the world. The construction of the Redemption Hospital is ongoing as I speak to you. And I think Asa Jalen struck a very important point. The construction is ongoing. The president will be dedicated the refurbishment of the trauma center at the JFK to a modern status. So you were talking about issues, etc. Take it to the bank. We've done that. It's modernized. It's no debate, not argument here today. We had an enrollment of over 200 workers under of the Republic of Liberia when we took over. Education, we pay the fee of WAS. Every student in the history of the country, we digitize the University of Liberia. We declared free education to public universities and colleges throughout the 15 political subdivisions, unprecedentedly in the history of the Republic of Liberia. You want to come to the construction of community roads for the first time in the history of Liberia since 1822? We've done unprecedentedly well as we dive into the nitty-gritty of these issues and the argument. National security, Liberia is safe. You want to travel around the world, the State Department is very clear. Come to the Republic of Liberia. We are ready and we are prepared. Not like me living in the United States of America. America is telling you Liberia is among the 20th Of all the country, 197 is not argument. If you want to check the department report, you can debate that with them.
Thank
But they
you.
can't show debate facts. We keep opinion.
Thank
So the government
you.
has done extremely well in all of the categories of Boja, I know it's
Thank-
tough tonight. You're my friend and you're my revolutionary brother.
Thank you, Mr. Gray.
And I look at Tule, you're my brother. No matter what the situation, we disagree on issues, we agree on issues. Tonight is a beautiful night. I can't also see it tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And you will have time for the accomplishment, right? So you can still wrap. And since it looked like two people on one side now, the way the first one. So it's like you could pick up because someone is telling me the 2 minutes is unrealistic, but let's try. Let's go to the accomplishment. Let's go to the accomplishment of President Weah or the administration, starting with the campaign promises. So don't talk about the PAPD because the PAPD will be another segment, okay? So talking about accomplishment, what did President Weah promise and has he achieved that? That's the first part of it. And with this, we start with Mr. Cooney.
The president has exceeded beyond expectation.
They say, what did he promise and has he accomplished it?
What?
Today, you're not a journalist, my man.
You're not a moderator.
Ask the question.
No, please let's
a very respectable and responsible program.
Let observe time. Let observe the time and no crosstalk, please. Mr. Cooney, let's start. Accomplishment. Let's look at campaign promises and what has he accomplished. Go ahead.
Well, the president major promise was to give hope to the Liberian people by doing things that will benefit the masses. If you look at the 4 areas you talk about, let's talk about security for a moment. Many people in Liberia don't know that since 1980, the country has never been run by its own security forces. The security of that country has always been in the hands of foreigners. This is the first time in Liberian history we have a completely 100% Liberia in security infrastructure, providing security and safety for our people. That's one campaign promise kept, to protect the boundaries of the Republic of Liberia. That has not been done since 1990. No one can argue that. You can talk about Madam Salif. Madam Salif provided security with over 30,000 United Nations personnel on the ground. This is an incredible achievement. We need to welcome this. We need to praise that. The president, under his leadership, has put forward, we indicated the free education program that will impact poor people. You keep asking proper agenda. Proper agenda is not some kind of an abstract dogma. Proper agenda are policies of government that improve the welfare of poor people. The president stopped that dehumanizing situation of Liberian students moving from office to office to get YFE. YFE is paid for. And even after school programs are paid for. Community roads are all over the place. We are running pipe-borne water throughout Monrovia. Things that the Ellen Johnson, Sally Joseph Barker government failed to do for 12 years. We are doing all of these things. So if you ask me what promise the president kept, the president is keeping the promise. We are constructing, we are contributing to infrastructure, we are contributing to education, we are contributing to health, and we are contributing to everything that impacts the Liberian people. That's what the president is doing daily.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson, campaign promises kept, accomplishment.
I mean, there are challenges that the government, is confronting, right? But it would be unfair for my friend Wilmot to talk about these things in absolute terms, although Liberia was close to heaven. I mean, we have to be objective in our analysis and say, look, there are challenges here and there. In fact, even America, as we speak, is struggling with
Mr. Jackson, let me help you. We'll come to the point where you're going to attack and respond. So let's just go to...
Okay. So let me say...
Right, I want to give you a fair chance. So
Okay, good. Promises. Let's go to promises. Is it Liberians were not going to be spectators in their own economy, right? Today, I think Liberians are not spectators, they also are the feed. You gotta be on the feed to be spectator, right? That's why the way the noise are hearing in Liberia, they also are the feed. So there is a need for us to do more to have Liberians engrafted into running the economy of the country. The president still needs a lot to do in that area. There is also the issue of job creation. We want to create job, but sadly, there are layoff of people from Golden Verorium coming down to Western Cluster. Even Asala Meta laid off some people. So the job creation record doesn't seem very impressive. So they still need a lot to do, and maybe they could blame it on the corona, but let's see what happens. And my friend talked about the medical facility, about them grading them hard in the COVID. But COVID not over yet. Uh, India was showing some good signs, but as we know, India has relapsed. And it's a big challenge all around the world. So we're not out of COVID yet. So we're not mark COVID very hard. You know what I mean? But I mean, with that being said, the security thing, we still have challenges with the security situation. We're experiencing mysterious death in the country, and I think we need to strengthen security around there because security will increase investor confidence. So there's a lot we need to do on the security front. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tule, Mr. Gray, let's talk about President Weah accomplishment looking at his campaign promises to fail.
The accomplishments are insurmountable to the years time. Since 1822, the political foundation was the arrival of the pioneers from Providence Island. No president in the history of this country has done more road networks in terms of urban or rural road networks that President Weah has done. The records are clear. Since 1822, Gibraltar had not had rural road network in terms of pavement, for example. Disadvantaged Liberians, besides who did the Stephen Tower Estate, subsequently the Banuzzi and then Samuel Dodari, no president in the history of this country has constructed more low-income homes than President Weah. Take it to the bank is no debate. The counties are beneficiary of that action. Even as I speak to you, in the Nukutan area, in the West Bend area, etc., nobody. Under this administration, not only that, we've done and we are constructing more hospitals than any administration in the history of the Republic of Liberia. Not only that, like I said, Liberians should not become spectators in the economy. Even with the distribution of the COVID rice distribution, etc., local companies are involved in serious distribution of that, along with our international partner. Yes, Liberians are not spectators in the economies because most of these rules are being done by local companies in the Republic of Liberia. Yes, we cannot become spectators in our own economy under this administration. By legislation,
Thank you.
Just come to you. There by the legislations that we passed to a great extent. We have had some of these legislations that have contributed immensely to the local developmental agenda of our country, including local companies of our country to a great extent.
Thank you.
So,
thank you, Mr. Gray. We'll come to the PAPD. So let me go to Mr. Tule. Looking at President Weah campaign promises, what are his accomplishments?
The first thing I would like to mention here is that Weah did not promise Liberian people plenty. He never had a real platform that he articulated. Neither did he have a political ideology that he espoused that we could identify and relate to him with. He made his whatever campaign speeches, they were too mundane to be quantified in that sense as a real political speech, espousing or laying forth a platform that captures your ideology, that captures your vision for the country. Nothing. all we are saying is that we're making president, like Isaac said, Liberian people will not be participants. I mean, spectators in the whole economy. Nothing specific, just broad. Okay, so it's hard to hold we are because he put a hand out and say, "I'm telling you nothing. I'm telling you much. All the other one are doing, I just my extra thing." And so it's difficult to really hold him. But when you look at some things that have been said previously, then look at the issue of the healthcare. It was Willie Tolbert that built most of these county hospitals that we know, the JJ Dawson, the Buchanan. Most of them were built under Willie Tolbert, not recently. I want to ask one question. How many kilometers of roads have been done? Because couldn't keep saying the past 12, it's funny, and Isaac will bear me witness. For me to come and be defending Madame Salif, for me to defend Madame Salif against spurious charges, Madame Salif laid and made more than 600 kilometers of road. Have the CDC government laid 600 kilometers of road at present? Have you people done 600 kilometers of road? No. The major arteries that food can come into our country were done under Madame Salif. So my point, I like to look at things in context. Judge Weah did not promise a lot. So what he's doing is basically just like a fire brigade. When somebody come and say fire is here, they say let's cut it off. Fire is here, let's cut it off. But healthcare, I want to say this, is more than building hospitals. Healthcare is having a plan, a health plan that affects not only the hospital in the major population areas, but healthcare has to affect the entire nation as a whole. I'll give you a common example. We don't even have a functional, let me just make this one. We don't even have a functional emergency ambulance system in Monrovia. I'm not even talking about for Buchanan and Grand Bassa County, Bangladesh. Job Monrovia alone, where you say if something happens to me, I can be ambulance can be called. Ambulance will find me wherever I am and take me to the hospital. You must pray that you can find Pempe at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you.
You don't have a car.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are discussing Judge Weah and his chances of prospect for 2023. Our next issue is his accomplishment using the PAPD. If you read the PAPD, is well laid out document. Let's compare that, his accomplishment using the PAPD, and I will start with Mr. Jackson.
Yeah, the PAPD we're talking about infrastructure, they talk about food, they talk about agriculture, they talk health and education. And we haven't seen much yet. Like we all have said, we have all testified, even though our colleagues from CDC saying they're doing well. One of the areas that they scored a little mark in was with the education, with the educational tutorial that they started. It scored success because most of the students passed were here on the Weah administration, which in a way surpassed our record on the issue of performance. But on the issue of the policy decision, supervision, do we have teachers in classes who supervising what? What the incentives there? Are they being paid well? All those areas they're having some challenges. Even with the job creation, mama, they're laid all over the place. Job losses all over the place. And my friend Gray will bear me all of this matter. Golden Verolium supposed to produce 500,000. The production right now, they cut down their something. The Western cluster gone. And if company closes off, you will know that job going. We talk about even Asala Meta have cut down staff. And it was a big noise that they will have to deal with. So job creation, they're not doing very well with that. And which is a very critical issue. So in the security sector, we saw the disturbing situation of ex-combatant holding press conference and endorsing position by the government. That was not very good. There was a guy in power. He was staying going to the radio station, closing it down. It was not very good sign. So I think the government can do a lot more, with the security sector thing and see how best they can, get rid of some of these guys who are basically undermining or undercutting or reducing investor confidence. Because if investors are going to the country and we're hearing that, ex-generals are supporting the government and threatening to arrest people, it's not a good sign, right? So we need to do something about what kind of situation, and the mysterious debt is something that the government has to work on and deal with drastically. So we don't have the recurrence of those kind of incident. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Gray, and we're talking about the PAPD. I want people to talk specific now. Hold on. The PAPD, for instance, has 4 pillars. Pillar 1, power to the people. Pillar 2, economy and job. Pillar 3, sustaining the peace. Pillar 4, governance and transparency. Mr. Gray, give me the accomplishment of President Weah under the PAPD.
When you talk about the PAPD, talk about there is no way you can disassociate yourself from making Liberians not part of the economy or taking over the economy. Because of that, the president ensured that he drove a quest on dual citizenship, for example, to encourage you, to encourage students who may have an American passport to come back home as a dual citizen to contribute towards the economy of the country. That's what they fought against, and that's what we promoted. That is our payload for the Flower March of the Republic of Liberia. When you talk about the issue of concession agreements, for example, that was signed, or any concession agreement under the past administration, if people call those concession agreement bogus, for example, we inherited this mess. And because we inherited that mess, for the first time in the history of the country, the legislature has concluded through the House of Representatives that the APN terminal can now be reviewed. The agreement on the past administration was that it cannot be reviewed. They've considered to us that they have to be reviewed. Today we are looking at the BVAD agreement just today. In fact, we invited the entire authority of the BVAD agreement, the same is subordinate, and we've charged them. We've charged them through a communication that they should come show cause why they should not be held in contempt, to ensure that you Liberians can be able to bring your products and produce to the free port of the Christian Liberian to come back. Under this administration, now in the age of the highest amount of money in public schools. That's increase that school.
We're having some trouble there, Mr. Gray, with your connection.
The internet going off.
Fees. Because many of the private school instructors were.
All right. With some trouble there with Mr. Gray's internet. Let's see if we can get him back. But ladies and gentlemen, this is Focus on Liberia. We are discussing President George Weah and his prospects for re-election. Mr. Gray, go ahead.
Are you getting me?
Yeah, we're getting you now.
Yeah,
we lost you a bit.
Public school teachers are paid the highest amount of money in the political foundation of this country. That's what prompted private institutions to carry that tuition high, because those teachers are drifting from private schools to public schools. The records are there, very clear. There's no argument on that. So those that were not on payroll under the past administration, for example, we put them on payroll under this administration. What we've done, as I speak to you now, we've halted the retirement package, the retirement of those teachers. Currently, though by law, as 65 years and above, they should be retired. But we said that since there's a problem, we've halted the process, as I speak to you 1 week ago, through the national legislature. So the issue of retirement in terms of teachers and replacement, that process is halted. The CS is interactive with us and will pass clear-cut instruction to them. So we are concerned about the welfare of our educational sector of our country. This is the first time he's talking a very important point about constructing hospitals, etc. But the capacity of those hospitals are not the same anymore. So that's why almost every country will do a groundbreaking ceremony to construct new hospitals to ensure that we increase the number of patients going to these hospitals is very significant. The records are there. Go to Grand Bassa, go to Bapolu, go to Cape County, for example. You can go to many of the counties resources as the
Thank,
leadership of our country. Not
thank
only
you.
that, one of the most significant things in the history of the country, he talked about 600 kilometers of roads in 12 years. In 12 years.
I said over.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gray.
In 6 years, let me just conclude on this. Like again, just less than a minute. In less than 6 years, 3 years, we've gone down less than 300 kilometers. So by 6 years, we'll double the 600 kilometers. That's what we're arguing for another 6 years. You're talking about 600 kilometers in 12 years? We are debating in 3 years, not less than 300 kilometers. That's the distinction we bring to the table. And we'll give you the answer when you ask the questions and when the report will come.
Thank you. Yeah, the rebuttal time will come. We're just setting the stage here. We're warming up yet. Let me go to Mr. Tule. The PAPD has 4 pillars: power to the people, economy and jobs, sustaining the peace.
Mr. Moderator, I'm here on the call.
Excuse me? No, Mr. After Gray, it's too late. What are you saying? Go ahead, Mr. Tule, the PAPD.
Yeah, you know, the PAPD reminds me of the PRS, the poverty reduction strategy. I remembered it was touted by the Salif government in the first 6 years. And everything you said about them, they pointed to the PRS. And to be honest, it's just being disingenuous. Because let me say this again. Liberia is more than just where the populations or the major population or the major populated areas is more than that. Our population dispersed across the 15 political subdivisions of the country. Therefore, when you are instituting policies and plans, you got to think about decentralization. You got to think about how what I'm doing, how can it translate into the lives of everybody in the country that will improve their material well-being. Now, the construction of these health facilities, or the groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of these health facilities, does not really translate into the lives of the people in the immediacy. We're talking about, the librarian said, dry dust sweep, but why are we eating until the door dry? Give you a common example. Why haven't the government gone about instituting or establishing mobile health clinics to go into the byways and the highways, those places that are not accessible, to take healthcare delivery to the people? Why haven't they done that? We're talking about roads. He's saying 300 kilometers of roads. I'm not looking at rebuttal right now, but the economy, let's go to power to the people. The people have no power. Power is concentrated in the hand of Akaras Gray, what the other guy named? Natalia McGay, what the other man named? Samuel Tuer, and even more than President Weah. They're great men. He's sitting here. If he talks, Tuer will not sleep. So Tuer got to make sure that Akaras Gray is happy all the time. So power is not concentrated in the hands of the people. Power is concentrated in the hands of the few. Economic and jobs. Isaac Jackson went through it. I don't want to waste my time beating the dead horse. They have not instituted an economic plan for Liberia. There's no economic viability. The country, the level of inflation is so bad, and food prices are astronomical, out of the hands of the common person. As a result, we're not creating jobs. Everybody wants to be employed by government or government agencies and parastatals. And that is not what we call job creation. We're talking about building private-public partnerships. We're talking about encouraging innovation, investment, and entrepreneurship. We don't see that in Liberia. And then we're talking about sustaining the peace. How can you sustain the peace when 5 auditors that are responsible for reporting, for accountability died? And how can we sustain the peace when the Minister of State met with former warlords and they were able to come up and have a press conference threatening people? That's not sustaining the peace. Sustaining the peace when people are hungry, you don't have peace. if we want to sustain peace in Liberia, we got to make sure that we address the issue of poverty in its totality, so that the Liberian people can begin to see and become partners and owners and partakers in the economy, and not just spectators.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Cooney. You were rushing me, and just to add, to bring in something, according to the NAMUD report, the promises made, but according to this, it said 113 total promises were made by President Weah. 9, according to the report, the EPA source, 9 promises completed, 54 promises ongoing, 50 promises not started. But let me go to, but we are on the PAPD now. Mr. Cooney, let's look at the PAPD and see what has been accomplished so far. I've named the pillars again. If you want me to repeat them, I can. But tell me about the PAPD and what is Mr. Weah's accomplishment looking at the PAPD.
No, forget the pillars. I know what the pillars are.
Okay.
I know what the pillars are. And we continue to hear the utopian lecture from the failed government of the past. But basically, sometimes it's good you come here, they talk about private investment, private sector job growth and other things. But what they fail to realize is that these investment and job growth they're talking about are conditioned on very basic, fundamental infrastructural economic issues. We talk about the issue of job creation. We talk about the issue of energy. We talk about the issue of water. These are the things that attract investors to a country. You have to generate enough power for investors to come to your country to invest. You have to have enough water resources. You have to have enough road infrastructure. And Mr. Ja, these are the things the president is doing. Nobody can carry private sector investment in Liberia when you don't have roads, when you don't have water, when you don't have electricity. These are the variables of the economy that the George Weah government, the CDC government is targeting. This is where we're seeing the improvement. You're talking about, and in addition to that, the government is carrying on rural electrification. The government is carrying on rural things. Nobody can debate that. So yeah, my brother Jackson said, oh, I can't make Liberia look like Sweden. At the same time, you can make your criticism of the government blanket to say, oh, they didn't do nothing. The government is doing something. There may be challenges in other areas, but the government is doing something. And quickly, let me debunk one of the false claims that the Unity Party people keep putting on the net, that Madam Salif paved 600 kilometers of road. That is blatantly false. Read the World Bank report. The entire Republic of Liberia by 2017, 2018, paved 675 kilometers of roads. The entire country. You're talking about from 1847. So it is mathematically impossible for Madam Salif to have paved 600 kilometers of road. When up to that time, the road paved by all presidents combined was just 600 kilometers. It is it's just a blatant untruth.
Thank you.
True. The statistics are there. What road did Madam Salif build? Besides reconditioning the road that were in Monrovia, what major highway was constructed? Besides the little Ganta to Banga to Ganta.
Thank you, Mr. Cooney.
Okay, Cooney, we hear you. She didn't recondition the roads in Monrovia. She redid them.
Thank you, Mr. Cooney.
You talk about power to the people being.
Mr. Cooney.
Hello.
Thank you.
Power to the people being. Let me learn.
No, you already learned it, man. Other people got to talk to
the people.
Mr. Cooney. Thank you. We almost at 3 minutes.
Look,
are you with us?
Being harassed on this show, man.
No, there should be no interruption.
Coming to me. You want 2 rounds without coming to me.
No.
So
2 rounds without coming to you?
No. Not true, man.
Like a personalized discussion. You talking about power to the people, me, Nathaniel McGee.
Let's go to our next. Let's go to our next topic. Let's go to the next topic. The big question now is, based on what we have discussed, Will President George Weah win a second term? Why or why not? This time we start with Mr. Gray.
Basically, it's a giving. There's no debate about victory 2023. The records are there. For anybody to compare legislative election result to a presidential election, you are living in Gowanda land. As a former instructor of geography. Gowanda land was an imagination of the continental drift theory, where the continents were one. So today we live in Gowanda land tonight. Legislatively, senatorially, the CDC has not won more than 5 seats. Since 2005, when we registered as a political party in the Senate with no more than 5 seats. Nobody must compare a legislative election to a presidential election. The records of the CDC, if you want to look at the most recent record presidentially, I'm not debating legislatively. 2017, we won 14 counties in the runoff out of 15 counties. 2017. That's the most recent presidential results in the history of the country. The president has launched what we call an unprecedented engagement with rural Liberia after passing 2 important bills signed into law. One has to do with the Local Governance Act, the mother of all bills in the history of the country, to decentralize the governance process by interacting with the people and ensuring that governance is taken to the people. In the opposition, there are 2 blocks. There is the Zana Cummins block and the Joseph Weah block. I don't want to deal with the creature. Let me deal with the creator, who is Joseph Weah. Weah presided 12 years as Vice President of the Republic of Liberia and speaking legislatively. The Constitution provides that the Vice President is the presiding officer of the Liberian Senate. No document of the Liberian Senate reaches the office of the president, whether bill, resolutions, or other document, that you don't have the signature of the vice president, who is the presiding officer. In the absence of the vice president, you have the pro tem. In the absence of the pro tem, you have the chairman on executive. All the back concession agreements on Ellen for 12 years, I voted not for. I served 6 years under the administration. I voted not for a single budget. Weah after the signature to all.
Thank you, Mr. Gray.
Everything. He got less than $2 million United dollars every year for an office.
Thank you. We'll come to the comparison.
To have a Weah versus Weah.
We'll come to that.
It's a disaster. I don't want to talk about the Coca-Cola bottle boy who does not understand.
No, we'll come to that, Mr. Gray. Your time is over.
The debate that I'm interested in. If we are victory 2023,
thank you.
It's insurmountable, unprecedented. No debate.
Thank you.
No debate about that. That can't me, Weah will tell local country, maybe that can't me. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me go to Josh Tule. Josh, will Josh Weah win a second term? Why or why not?
He won't win. Okay, so I will go back. I will go back on what my brother just postulated.
No, please tell us why he will not win.
He won't win. Yeah, this is where I'm going. This is where I'm going now.
Okay.
Wait, I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to establish something here. Hold on, Gray.
You got 2 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So let Gray let me talk. The thing is, the thing is.
Not 2 minutes with you.
You guys are not letting me talk.
2 minutes. I beg you, get here 2 minutes.
Okay. All the counties that were won, all right, during the last senatorial and the previous election, we know the history of the CDC. CDC have been very strong. In the midst of everything, no matter what county they lost, no matter how many Senate seats they didn't win, they always maintained Montserrat County in terms of they had an overwhelming majority of representatives from Montserrat County, and they had 2 senators for the whole time I could remember until Dara Dillon came in the picture. Dylan coming in the picture. Timber losing in Lofa. Boto kind of winning in what's the place? The Bapolu County. It signified a shift in the political alignment in the country. It also shows to us that the people are fed up with the disingenuous dishonesty that comes out of CDC, the sedition, the stalwarts, and everybody else. So if you ask me if he will win in 2023, I would say no. And for the real reason why, I know the Liberian people, when they are for you, they are for you. But when they turn their backs on you, they're not coming back. They're done. They're not giving you any reconsideration. So what I'm saying to you is, if CDC cannot win Montserrato in 2023, CDC will not win the national election. Because look at all those countries you're talking about. Those elections, those numbers are not as significant as you would think. But I can promise you this: that 2023, Montserrato County is up for grabs. And because you people are not honest with the Liberian people, you can't come to them and say, "This is where we are. These are our challenges. This is what we must do." All you can do, you get Kone and Gray, and other people saying all is well, you are doing well, and the people hungry when their stomachs are, the hunger pangs are giving them problem. It only insults them when they hear you talk. That's all I can say.
Thank you. Mr. Kuni, I'm coming to you. Hey. Will Josh Weah win a second term? Why or why not? Mr. Kuni.
As I told you, the 2020 is an easy win for the CDC and for George Weah. And let me go further. I mean, given the accomplishment of President Weah and the CDC government, with a little bit of strategic planning and a little bit of hard work, I can predict to you that the CDC will win a first round victory. First round victory. You just have to do a little bit of work. In addition to all the results, all of the progress, all of the achievement of the administration, and the CDC will be awarded a first round victory. I'm not talking about second round. I mean, what record you're gonna put against rural housing, rural electrification, rural construction, hospital infrastructure? I mean, who better has the record in that open worker? I mean, I call it allowing Kinko. You the one that LeBron gonna prefer. I can give you a first round CDC victory come 2023 with a little bit of hard work and a little bit based on the many accomplishments that George Weah will have by that time. First round victory.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jackson.
Yes. My position on this is, I'm not definite about whether or not the CDC will win or the opposition will win. It depends on the equation, the chemistry that we are playing. And this is where I will caution my friend George. George and some of the people need to be very careful so as not to use the barometer regarding Dylan's victory. One of the reasons why Dylan won the election in Montserrato was because the opposition collaborated in tandem. There was a collaborative effort by the opposition political parties. The signal that we are getting now is not, to me, favorable. So if you have a divided opposition, I'm not too sure what I will predict victory for them. I'm concerned about it because divided opposition will definitely give President Weah an advantage. We got to be very careful and clear about that. To caution our people in the opposition to be very careful, especially the way Brother Kumi is maneuvering. It could portend serious danger to the CPP. And so, whether or not we win is a it's predicated upon how the opposition will conduct themselves.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, just for before you end, let me ask the question again. Will Josh Weah win a second term? We'll come to comparing him to the opposition, but as we stand today, will Josh Weah win a second term? Why or why not? Mr.
Is that a
Jackson.
new? Is that a new question or a simple question? I
No,
said it's
the
predicated
same
It's a
upon.
simple
question. You still have a few seconds to end.
I said it's predicated upon how the opposition will approach the country. If the opposition goes to the election divided, based upon what we're seeing and the conversation they're keeping, because Joe Bwaka is thoroughly holding his turf. Mr. Kumi is trying to wrestle him off that turf. And if Mr. Kumi pushes too strongly and Joe Bwaka were to emerge, he may not choose Kumi to be a vice candidate. So that will be a challenge. And then Kumi will let it go slow. That will give Ambassador Weah an advantage. So it depends on how they play their cards. But I cannot be definite here. It's a 50-50 chance, really.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost to our crossfire, but we have one more before we enter crossfire. And this one says, how is President Weah compared against a CPP ticket or other candidate? It could be you can take a CPP ticket, Cummings, Bwaka, Cummings, Kanga, whatever. A formidable, your dream CPP ticket, compare that to George Weah. How is George Weah compared to that? And then we also want to throw some third-party candidates in there outside the CPP, and I have some names for you here. Dr. George Clark here, Councillor Tiawan Gongolo, Councillor Nambali Warner, etc., etc. So how is George Weah compared against a possible CPP candidate or ticket or a third option? Let me start with Mr. Tule.
Okay, this is what I would say quickly. These third-party candidates will come very, very low in the scheme of things. It's going to be a two-horses race again, or two-horse race, and it's going to be whoever represents the CPP and George Weah going to the runoff again. There will be a runoff because nobody's going to get the clear majority of 50% plus one. And when you look at how things are stacked up, like you see, one of the things and what Isaac Jackson said just now is just the truth. There is no way you can dress it or whatever. There's nothing disingenuous about that. A divided opposition almost hands George Weah a re-election. A unified opposition that will do their work, like he mentioned, working together in unison, warn them and maintain Montserrado County for Darius Dillon. Anything less than that, anything less than a unified front to confront and face George Weah in 2023. That, mind you now, these guys have the government, all the governmental resources backing them. They have all the mayors and the commissioners and the district people all behind them, down to the chief, the justice of the chiefs in the counties and the paramount chiefs, the clan chiefs. They're all feeding off the Ministry of Internal Affairs. So yeah, of course. So they have their network already in place. What we need to do is to be able to go on the issues. If George Weah and Akara's Great is here, I'm telling him, and I know they won't do anything because they lack capacity. Not Akara's Great, but the people you carry the message to, they lack capacity to do anything about it. If you guys do not invest in agriculture, don't care what you do, sell George Weah, choose to get money to invest in agriculture. And not just wasting money, but making sure that whatever you do translates to tangibles, meaning increased use of food products on the market and the lowering of prices. Just wave 2023 goodbye. Because as long as the Liberian man struggles to maintain himself on a daily basis, every day when he's eating that dry rice, he would think about the luxury cars you people are riding, and all he would do is to get angry. So I'm telling you now, as a friend, this is a friendly, cost-free advice. You want to gain re-election, invest in agriculture, make sure the Liberian people can be able to feed themselves. If they can't get to that place, when they see your convoy pass, they see your expensive car pass, they see you flying, they only increase their anger and they will turn on you at the polls.
Thank you. Mr. Kune, how is President Weah compared against a CPP ticket or a third candidate? Mr. Kune, are you there?
Indicated the CPP. You can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I mean, the CPP candidates, I mean, no matter the combination, I don't see any of them posing a significant challenge to President Weah. Again, I say that not in a braggadocious tune. I say that because of the level of accomplishment that the president is carrying on in the country. I mean, the president has significant record of accomplishment that he will carry into the election. Now, I see the CCP in a very difficult situation. If it is Omen Bwaka, you're going to be defending the 12 years of Bwaka failed leadership. You're going to be defending that against the progressive leadership of George Weah. And even if you do the permutation where you say Cummings will go as vice president to Bwaka, the question is, why would Cummings want to take up Bwaka baggage? So, we have a difficult situation. And the regretful thing about this thing is that Mr. Cummings is wasting his time in a collaboration that has a very serious baggage the benefits of that baggage, outweigh the negative of that baggage outweigh the benefit. So I don't see a combination that they will put against President Weah. I mean, Omen Bwaka will be coming there with failed leadership. Even if it is Mr. Cummings is coming there with unknown quantity withdrawing. The whole issue, people like Mr. Cummings before, the way they're selling Mr. Cummings now, that how Madam Sali was sold to us. She was this renowned Liberian with international agency, with record of accomplishment. That's how Madam Sali was sold. It is the same way they're selling Cummings now. He's some kind of accomplished a bureaucrat, I call it business executive. What Madam Sali left with the Liberian people? She left a failed economy, a backward country, and so the Liberian people are going to be asking themselves. We've seen this movie before. So I don't see a way the CPP can get out of that situation. You put Bwaka got to defend his failure. You put Cummings got to answer, what has he achieved in public space that will give the Liberian people the confidence that he can provide leadership to that country. George Weah has already answered all those questions.
Thank you.
And we'll be looking at George Weah. The Liberian people will be looking at George Weah's accomplishment. But the other people you talk about, they are all great Liberians. But what are their electoral chances in Liberia? George Clayton being out of the country for a long time. Gawon Gonglo is down there vacillating between different positions. So I don't know how the Liberian people are going to take them.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Jackson. How is President Weah compared?
Again, we have to be very careful with the opposition community. The last time I appeared on your show, I indicated that I have my own reservation regarding the CPP. And Mr. Weber said something, but his own argument, and sometimes it can be very extreme to say we did not live in a good economy. I think it's not a realistic accusation against us. We inherited an economy of 80 million. We took it to 530 million. And you say we didn't leave anything behind, bro? That's not a fair criticism, right? But I have concern, like he said, right? Coming is relatively a stranger in the context that he has not had experience in the Liberian governance system. And so if you were to even pair him with somebody, which people say it is an advantage for him, I think an advantage is a disadvantage. In the sense that if I'm going to give somebody a job, I want to know the person's CV. I think worked in the Liberian governance system before. If you were to take this job, will he know exactly where to go to target issues and solve problems quickly? We need to give people the presidency who are being tried and tested in the governance system. They have come up without any challenges. In the instant case, I don't see that with Mr. Cummings. That's a drawback for him. The other thing which is a drawback for him is he has not been able to indicate in clear and simple language his constituent. The last time I talked with the Cummings people, they were trying to make academic argument. Even the America where they live or where they come from, you get blue states and you get red states. In Liberia, it's also boiled down to that. All the politics in Liberia seems to be local. Where is this man's stronghold? Where does he go to say, I will pull the other country and win the flag? I don't have to campaign in that place. He has not been able to demonstrate that. When he said former President Joe Biden got liability, we can understand it. but he had asset. The asset is he worked in the government. Yes, there were challenges with corruption, but he left that government without any corruption tint, or he left without any serious breaches on his character. So it's an advantage that he can articulate and go to the election, and people will gravitate towards him. The other thing is he needs to explain, some of the successes of the school under the Sterling administration. For instance, we provided 5 point water to this population. We were able to increase, in a way, we refurbished the hydro, right? So with this stuff, we restore Liberia's image internationally.
You are not answering my question.
Mm-hmm.
You did not refurbish, you rebuild the hydro.
We rebuild it. That's it. We rebuild the hydro, right? That was a major achievement. We were Liberia debt ready. So with this stuff.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Gray. Mr. Gray, I know the answer is yes. How is Judge Weah compared against a CPP ticket or a third option?
The opposition is in Tata.
They
are of what we call Tata de Mali. They have no bearing. And if I knew Jackson was coming on the show, maybe I would not appear. He's a blood brother. And so I don't want to go against some of the conversation he had. Those who burned the hydro were under obligation to build the hydro. Because they burned the hydro and they looted the hydro. Let me appreciate my brother and friend today. He has conceded that the opposition, they will never speak with a single voice. Let me give you an example. Paul Nyombli on the Boyka, the two have failed. Boyka signed all the buy agreements in the country on all budgets in the entire country. He can be easily politically consumed for the vultures to consume. Look at Nyombli, 9 years. As Vice Runmate, for example, she submitted not a single bill. She had no history of an oversight that brought the national debate to our country. As chairman of the committee, what are you discussing? The inability to perform across the country. Put comments on the worker or vice versa. Jackson has said it, he has no constituent. When you want to know the team, when you appear in a gathering, the people that sit around you, what is Cummins team locally? Which schools in Liberia they graduated from, for example, universities? Who are they? Who know them? What crack can they pull? The Munafaha? What are you discussing? Let's be realistic. In politics, they get what they call faces. Jackson will agree with me, and Tude will agree with me. What is disagreement with the CDC? Faces are very important. Who can they choose? Cummins does not have a team. That Wumbe in the candidate could not seek a ticket to run. That the discussion we're having here on air, the guys are on serious. We got to trash them into the dustbin. Tude got to join us, the CDC now, because we got to recruit him. For Jackson, we're recruiting. Okay, both Tude and Jackson. We need every one of them.
You see the problem?
You want to put Dino on a Boyka or Cummins? There's a man who deny your dual citizenship. For example, there's a man who took a full vacation in the United States of America when he became a senator. Very deceptive. Jackson will tell you better than I know from the Liberty Party. Which party? For example, let me conclude. Okay. That ALP leader Bernard Euro charge for bringing ammunition into the country. And you talk about McGill being surrounded by people when you talk to, you say ex-combatant. Who is Ure? Who is Ure? In terms of being an ex-combatant, economic sabotage to a country that can travel to the United States of America today, travel restriction on. What? The opposition is in Tata. We call that Tata de Malians. That's what we call the opposition. Tata de Malians.
Thank you.
Coalition for democratic change. We are very open to ideas.
Okay. Let's move on.
You talk about the agricultural sector, for example. No, don't
Mr. Gray, your time is over.
We have subjected the agricultural sector into a new revolution called the Great Leap Forward, like in China. That's what we're discussing.
Thank you.
Boyka had control of the agricultural sector. All the equipment in Lofa being destroyed. He did nothing.
Brother, we gotta move on. You can't don't filibuster.
Thank you, Mr. Gray.
No. More to the developmental agenda of District Number 8 than Boyka has done in physical infrastructure development, the
Mama,
budget has
you
gone to
do
local
nothing.
county. You think
Thank
we
you, Mr. Gray. Thank you, Mr. Gray. Thank you.
You do it intentionally.
Now we're going to enter our period of rebuttal
First round victory. First round victory.
Oh, man.
Oh man, Mama, you're very unrealistic.
Yeah,
You're
man.
very unrealistic.
Very unrealistic. Okay, yeah. Before you when you mentioned Yumbly being there 9 years.
Hold on, Mr. Gray. So Mr. Tule. So you ready for the questions and rebuttal? So if you have a question, if you have rebuttal, but let me start with you, Mr. Gray.
Basically, I don't know. No.
Because you use most of the time. So end now with your rebuttal or your question for any of the panelists.
Yeah, basically, I just wanted to set some record straight. That in terms of the health sector, we brought the first DNA machine ever in the history of the country to help the fight against rape. It's no debate. We passed 2 landmark bills. The issue of the Land Rights Act, the issue of domestic violence, for example, where today if you chase a woman in the street, she can charge you for stalking her. It's a law in Liberia, probably you don't even know that. Okay, we're trying to make just law a non-bailable offense, and I speak to you. We're trying to make you judge a citizen of Liberia. Yeah. That's
I'm still a Liberian citizen.
No, I just we're trying to make you so you can clarify that when your time reaches.
Do you have any question or you want what is said?
What I disagree with is that I don't think we should call Liberian people hungry people. For the first time in this country, if you saw the president decentralization arrangement going into rural Liberia, it's the sincerity of people who have never seen a concrete building, for example, in a village or electricity. Tomorrow, George, we're going to start an MOU. Providence Island shall become the land of return. The president will subsequently sign the bill on tourism to open the economy. So we don't want to deplete those resources that are depletable, like iron ore, like gold, like diamond. Our concentration, and I agree with you on one point, I must concede. There's a big thought for a bigger agricultural revolution in our country. There's no argument about that. The tourism sector and the agricultural sector, we believe, can help our economy to a greater extent. All concession agreements are being reviewed as I speak to you. I'm a member of the committee on concession and investment. Now, as I speak to you, we are looking into that. I concede on the point we need to invest more in the agricultural revolution of our country. I must admit, no matter what the indifference is, it struck a vital point that we have to look at agricultural revolution. The president still our initial address. He said we must address the bread and butter issue, but bottomly in the state of the nation address. So Jackson, I really can pick up on that, but I'm coming for you, Jackson. I'm coming for you.
Mr. Tule, your question.
Now your phenotype reminds me of being sufficient.
Mr. Tule, your question or your rebuttal to any of the issues being discussed tonight?
Yes, he mentioned Senator Kanga being in the Kanga Lawrence being in the Senate for 9 years and not championing anything, any bill or whatever. If it's true, it's something that needs to be addressed because she's a major political party, political leader. And as a result, she has to show, she has to be more visible so that it's something that needs to be looked at. But conversely, George Weah was there too for almost 3 years and he did nothing.
No, why not?
No. You will hold on, Gray. You hold on. George Weah was there. Before you throw, they say when you live in a glass house, don't throw stones. Hold on. He was there for almost 3 years. 3 years, and he did not hold one press conference. He did not hold one town hall meeting. Hold on.
He not just said it.
Did not hold one town hall meeting. He did not hold one town hall meeting while he was senator.
Not you.
He did not hold one press conference. He now even went to Nickel Town to go tell the people thank you after they elected him senator of Montserrat County.
No,
Then you will wait. You hold on, Gray. You hold on, Gray. You will hold on, Gray. You will hold on, Gray. You are saying you haven't even had town hall meeting with your people. How many town hall meeting you can do? You think when you go meet with Sedition at town hall meeting?
Go ahead, Tule, are you finished?
No, they meant they're stabbing me. I need to be protected. Okay. So when you look at this, and we
hold on, Mr. Gray.
The man disturbing me. His actions are causing me to lose my train of thought. He has to be patient. He will have the time to talk.
Mr. Gray, hold on. You will have the time to talk. Give him 1 minute to finish.
Give me a minute. Just give me 1 minute. So when it comes to our leaders being engaged in everything, you know, he mentioned, I'm giving rebuttal now. He mentioned Joe Buckeye being a liability. Joe Buckeye, like Isaac Jackson said, has a lot of pluses to his side. And I would like to emphasize on those. The fact that he's a disciplinarian, the fact that he has no corruption allegation looming over his head, the fact that he has shown, okay, yes, I know he was responsible for forwarding this bill to the executive in terms of signing it as the president of the Senate. Yes, granted. And he has to answer for those things in the future, why he signed bills that did not meet the Mineral Development Agreement stipulations. So we can also ask those questions. But that, because when we support somebody, doesn't mean we should just be blanket in or just be blind in backing everything they did or do. Now, when we look at George Weah hasn't got a plan on how to handle the economic revitalization of Liberia. You talk about tourism bills. The tourism bill will not help you because you have a dirty city. The city is dirty. The Do River. No, I will come. You will come. Hold on. The Montserrat River that is in the city is the major toilet place of all the dwellers in Montserrat County. If you do not develop plans to be able to address those things, you are wasting your time. No tourists come to a dirty city or dirty country that lacks infrastructure. Even though Manasari built the hydro, but you people have not piggyback on Manasari's successes. What you call it failed 12 years. And in comparison, Manasari has done better than you people.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Kune, let me go to you for your rebuttal or question. Mr. Kune.
I've already issued one of my most important rebuttal is this. I already issued one of my most important rebuttal for the kilometer, road kilometer, something that the Unity Party.
So go ahead to the next one.
Factually untrue. But another important one, the other important one I want to rebut is the definition of power to the people by my brother Tule, and meaning that it's personal power we're talking about. When we say power to the people, we're not talking about the exercise of personal power. We're talking about the exercise of democratic power by the Liberian people. So many times during the Weah administration, we saw the Liberian people going to the polls and electing leaders of their choice. That's what we call power to the people. We ain't talking about my gay personal power, and you know that is a personal thing. For me, I don't know about that. I don't want to be part of that. Then the other thing I want to add to is that in addition to all of the many progress that we've cited that Weah has made, there are a lot of economic engine that is looming that may come due even before the election. We're talking about a huge money agreement with Guinea. We're talking about the construction of the dry port that's going to facilitate trade between Guinea and Mali. All of these things are achievement of this government. And this is why I believe that the government really stands a very good chance of winning. Now, there's one point I want to end on. There's one point because sometimes this point comes all the time. As I indicated, the death of any Liberian is a sorrowful thing for all of us. Liberia is our country. We want the country to be safe, and the country is safe. But we cannot control the evil act of individuals going up and down the country doing their evil thing. But the point I want to concede, the national security agencies would need to do a little bit more work in investigating these crimes, even if they cannot solve the crime. But they need to do a little bit more work, getting ahead of the issue, so that the Labrador people can be comforted by the fact that, yes, evildoers are going around, but at least the security agency is on top of these things. So we can see a little bit of ground. But what is clear is that these killings are not motivated by government. It's not government action. So we need the leadership. I say here, I wear so many hats. I'm a security man. So sometimes we got to look at the issue of executive leadership in these institutions. We got to look at the issue of training. We got to look at the issue of logistics. We got to look at the issue of so many things that go into properly investigating some of these crimes. But having said that, again, the CDC has a one-round victory. We can work
Thank you.
that.
You made a point. Let me go to Mr. Jackson.
Okay,
Mr. Jackson, your rebuttal question.
Right, but the discussion is becoming, a bit interesting. I'm glad that for the first time, my senior brother have been able to bring a sense of realism to the discussion when he acknowledges that the issue of security is a serious concern for all of us, and that the government should treat it seriously. Because there is an aphorism that says you can share the labor of the great, but you cannot share the spoil. When a spoil, you go to the president, because it is the president who heads the government. So when the security gets on lapses, you gotta be, asking him questions, all right? Because he's the head of government. So I'm glad that my friend have acknowledged that. The other thing I want to talk about is to agree with Mr. Gray for the first time, even though he said he won't reprove me, but he got plenty to do. But I acknowledge the fact that he has pinpointed the liability of the political leader of the Liberty Party. For 9 years, she has not been able to show any solid record of anything that she stands for or she convenes about. Even today, she's not standing up for women's solidarity. Ide Gongo Weah had a big election case in Nimba. I never saw Madam Yomdi Kanga standing behind Ide Gongo Weah. There is not a single bill or single position she has taken on the issues of rape that are in the country. So she is completely a zero person, and she is a letdown for our people. The other thing I wanted to draw Mr. Gray attention to is Mr. Gray has said repeatedly that they just building hospital all around, but he has not getting into any specifics. So he's good in this broad generalization, but in detail, I think he's having some problem. Because anyway, come back to the Sally administration. I will say to you, the construction hospital, for example, all right, Tapeta, all right, I go to Tapeta. They just say we constructed play hospital, we constructed play this. He's not giving any specifics. The other thing is, he said that on the hospital, on the doctor thing, President we met about 94 doctors. We increased that number to 303. They were supposed to take it from 303 to 500, and then to do specialist doctors. I don't know how much they've been able to do in that regard. You need to tell us, but you just in broad terms. You gotta get the specific.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. I got a question here. You and Mr. Cooney that I got from a listener. He said, "Why has the CDC-led government failed to sustain the decentralization by supporting the county service centers and disbursing county development funds? How CDC hope to get the rural vote after the departure of NPP? Will the CPP accept NPP or the Rainbow Coalition?" But deal with the first part of the question here. Why has the CDC government failed to sustain the decentralization process? And how do you hope to get the rural voters if NPP leaves the CDC?
NPP is going nowhere. Individuals will go, but NPP will remain. I don't want to argue that. You are asking if it's a conditional statement. Don't debate what I know, because I speak from a well-informed position. When you say decentralization, the honor this administration will pass the Decentralization Act. So I don't know what the person talking about.
No, the person is specific about there was a county service centers and then county development funds, which the real government has not been able to deliver on.
No. It's a fallacy. It's a fallacy to argue that the person is ill-informed. The first thing is that the Decentralization Act was passed on our administration. where rural people will be given greater opportunity to benefit from the resources that come from the rural counties. Under this administration, there was a landmark bill signed and passed under this administration where we had international actors. It took 6 years under the past administration that it did not sign. It's also a disservice to compare 12 years to 3 years. It's a maximum disservice. 12 years to 3 years. You know what you're discussing? If you put 3 into 12, that's 4. So the ratio is 1 to 4. So every one thing we do with me, Ellen did it in 4 years. It's a maximum disservice mathematically. You know, I must know math. I work mathematics by inspection. So it's a mute argument to go into that. So for somebody to begin to argue about decentralization, yeah, we pass a bill on decentralization. Are we moving in a direction where the president is not talking about empowered local people in terms of mobility, for example, in terms of electrification, in terms of being part of the economy, to decentralize the economy, for example, where superintendents, where city mayors and other people be involved, obviously. What is the county development funds? I think people are always missing county development or social development funds. Let me give you Montserrat as a case study. The county development fund in Montserrat County, 200,000 across the board for every county development funds. Assuming that 19 lawmakers, 2 senators, 17 members of the House of Representatives, divide 200,000. Maybe that 11,000 each district will take and the county. But we got to cater to the well-being of the superintendent, the chiefs, and other people. We got to help them. We got to buy vehicles and other things. The soccer team, for example, the sporting programs, we use the county development fund. So it's a draft. I want to tell you, Senator Dillon just received 5,000 from the county development fund going to America. 5,000. Put me on record again tonight. I want you to put me on record and receive it. 2,000 of that money should have been for the sporting program. He didn't spend a dime. 3,000 will be for a project, or maybe for scholarship, etc. He allowed a company that he created to go and sign for the money.
You will bring you specifically for the loan.
Mr. Host.
Yeah.
Mr. Host, we're discussing integrity and county development funds. For him to argue or for somebody to write to say that county development fund, normally the checks that were published, the county received over 200,000 plus in county development funds, social development funds. Look at Grand Bassa today, they couldn't even pay or 30 people know how to do groundbreaking ceremony. We're discussing opposition vis-a-vis. Look at the records. It's very important. Look at the records. Okay, you gotta look at the county 10 of the various counties. It's very important. You see 200,000 across the board, what the county development fund at 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, etc. Look at those counties and how much the bank getting, and look at their lawmakers. Many of them opposition lawmakers.
Can we make that thing a dialogue? Can we make that thing a dialogue?
No, too late, wait. The question
conclude, Mr. Gray.
It will be at the service. No, it will be at the service for today to determine how to answer our question.
No. Hold on now, Mr. Tule. Hold on, Mr. Tule. Anytime you do that, you create some form. But I have a question here for you, Mr. Tule and Mr. Jackson.
Tule, let me just say this way. I want to make a correction. Less than 30 seconds.
30 seconds. You have 30 seconds.
The ocean defense system started through the advocacy of President George Weah when he was senator in 2015 for nuclear, etc., through the county and social development funds. The records are there. The issue of the reduction in the price of passport, it led that struggle. It became a national debate. Okay, the issue of privatizing electricity in our country became a national debate through advocacy. As a senator,
thank you.
I spent on Yombly because Yombly did nothing. No national debate. Show me one.
Thank you, Mr. Gray.
Jackson like Yombly. But you, I want to tell you this. No senator in the opposition that want to be president or vice president.
Thank you, Mr. Gray.
This country. Now even your Joseph Boy talking about agriculture project.
Wait now, Mr. Gray. Your time is over.
Associated himself on Ellen Johnson Salih. So he cannot take credit for what Ellen did.
Thank you.
Hey, you see a problem with you now. You said when you go on these tangents, you know.
Okay, Mr. Tully and Jackson.
Yes, sir.
Can I
Hold on.
answer
There's a
that?
question. Hold on now.
Can I
There's a
answer the
comment here
question?
from. There's a comment here from the president's office, Sekou Galasco Demaro.
Yeah.
And I want you guys to, George, you respond first. Upon taking office, President Weah also signed into law another important piece of legislation that was also drafted with support from USAID, the Local Government Act. The law would transfer financial and administrative authority from the central government to county and local governments, improving the equality of service delivery and enabling local communities to take charge of their own future and development. Mr. Tule, do I hear you say South?
It's fun. He said upon taking office. Gray, you can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do this. Hold on now. Okay, the question wasn't asked to you, though.
Hold on, Gray.
All right. So he signed an act in 2018 that ostensibly gives or decentralizes and give power to the local government. I've seen a lot of those being signed. Signing an act and not giving empowerment. Please hold on. Signing an act and not giving empowerment to the act is as useless as not signing the act. Okay? Because the thing is this, you said they will make determination in terms of their own development. It shows that you do not have a plan. Because if you had a plan, the plan will have prongs. You will have a plan that will highlight and budget. I'll give you a common example. Singapore budgets 25% of the national budget goes towards education. 25%. What is the percentage of our budget that goes towards education in Liberia? You're talking about what benefit is it going to do in a county if you put $200,000 in the hands? Apart from the counties that have the railroad going through them, that actually Meta pays monitor on a yearly basis, the rest of the counties don't have that extra fund coming in. They got 200,000 plus 6,000 coming in. They can't do anything. That money, it can't do anything for even one small city in Lofa County. It can translate the lives of the people in any meaningful or tangible ways. So this is not CDC's fault. They are just inheriting what is Liberia. Liberia, all power is inherent in the presidency. All resources are within the power and the pleasure of the presidency. So as a result, that thing was just lip service. You say pressure them, and say Damasco, Kalasco knows very well that thing that phone they're doing there because they've not done it, they've not implemented it. The mayors and the commissioners in the counties, the superintendent don't have any power whatsoever. Everything is done from Monrovia, and they know it.
Thank you, Mr. Kunin. There's a question for you. Tebla Popo say. No, not that one. Johnny J said it is for like Mr. Cooney and Mr. Gray who continue to lie to the president.
Let me begin with that before. Let me begin with that. Can I come?
Let Mr. Cooney give it. Let Mr. Cooney start. Then you continue.
Okay.
Mr. Cooney, you lying to the president?
Yes.
No. I'm not. Listen, I'm not going to dignify that with a response, but the point I want to make is that the previous question I was asked about service centers, you know the
answer that question.
You can answer it, Johnson. It's not your question.
Of decentralization. Service centers were just an expansion of central government. What is in line with my decentralization is the act that Gray just talked about. And the fact that the act is not implemented is not the fault of the president. When laws are there, they know the laws should be implemented. Again, you have our that is controlled by the opposition, and an opposition that is clearly very, very much ineffective to make all these allocations. It's not I'm for of increasing the power of the president. So if there is a law that says, look, this is the power that to the local government, you will hold the president responsible for that law not being implemented. You hold the legislature that allocate national resources. It is the legislature's function to do that.
Right.
But let me close on this point.
Because you accused of Gray that is a function. Go ahead.
The United Party people like to pass the myth of Joseph Weah being a clean man. This man with several record of dismissal from government, from the PRC government, from the Clinton government. You have the local rights project hanging on his head, no accountability. He has several allowances that he cannot account for. This man says he's taking a loan. Nobody knows what bank gave him the loan. There is no adequate disclosure as to who gave him the loan. How is he paying? The man not working right now. So how he paying for? What is the terms and condition of the loan? And they want to pass him as some clean man. There are more questions to Weah, in terms of transparency than any other person in the CCP leadership.
Thank you. And Mr. Gray, Mr. Gray, let me paraphrase the question because all the time they say Jackson, I will come to you because this question was asked. Say Mr. Gray is lying to the president. Mr. Gray, you have been one of those, even Tule said it here, that there are few people around the president who continue to lie to him or fool him. What's your defense? They name you, the name McGill, the name Tule, Koji, and all of them.
It's good when I lie to the president and goes to Buchanan and pour electricity there. It's good when I lie to the president and go to Grand Kidman County and Rawlsford and pour electricity. It's a damn good lie. Very important for the welfare of our people. It's very important. It's good when I lie to the president who pass a bill and send the Land Right Acts into law. Not just domestically appreciated, but internationally appreciated. That would decentralize power as a sitting head of state. Oh, it's a good lie. An extremely good lie that we need to do. I just want to tell you this. We got to stop lying to Joseph Weah. They don't accuse Weah of being corrupt. He published the newspaper on Samuel to dismiss him. Oh, yes. If you accuse the legislature owner Ellen Johnson Sully of making more money, Weah signed the budget to make 15,000 as they don't claim. He signed that. If he had not signed it, it would not have gone to the president of the Republic of Liberia. He has fixed the signature. Oh, yes. All the concession agreements, he has fixed the signature too. A budget of not less than $2 million every year for his office. He has fixed the signature to that. If a certain vice president would tell you that he survived on loan and lied to the public that he was making $5,000 United States, I made more money than him as a member of the House of Representatives. It's a concocted and calculated lie of national deception to the people of Liberia that he cannot be trusted with power.
Thank you.
Is that the lie you're talking about? The biggest lie that I want to lie to the president, the biggest lie? When I see Tule being a citizen of the Republic of Liberia and dual citizenship. When I see him coming back home, that you can invest in the economy of Liberia as Liberians. I want to lie to the president of the Republic of Liberia. If you said that power is among few people and not to the people, when they don't won an election, I talked to a Facebook page and said the people have spoken. We didn't rig the election. We gave the people who won the election that power to the people.
Thank you, Mr. Gray.
When they claimed.
Thank you.
The CDC who have rigged the election, we gave them what they want. That power to the people.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to lie. Let me tell you, I'm the biggest liar. I will conclude on this. I want to lie to the president.
10 seconds.
To tell the president and say, look, Mr. President, our agricultural revolution is significant. Do more as he's doing. I want to lie to the president when he will build concrete homes, where there were bought homes, and today and people for 12 years could not do. If you want to do a comparative scientific political analysis, you can't compare 12 years.
Okay, Gray, it's okay now. Let's move on.
No, hold on.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Jackson. Hold on now, Mr. Gray. Mr. Jackson, I'm coming to you. All
Yes,
right.
sir. So I needed
Tonight,
to.
no,
I
no,
needed to.
let me get your question before then you can
Well,
add
the
to.
question today I asked able to answer, right?
Yeah, let me pour another one on top of it.
Okay, so
So my question to you is tonight, what I heard you say is the only way Weah is not going to win if the opposition do a very good job.
yes.
Right.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want you to if we are now winning is predicated upon the opposition doing a very good job, will you now say that Weah is doing well? Then you can answer that with your other question.
I mean, but yeah, let me start with what George. The question I will ask to George and to both of us. You see, we have to acknowledge the smaller steps, right? The initial step. I think the effort to decentralize or to divest some power from the president and give it to the people is a welcoming news, right? Whether if it is even cosmetic, it's something welcoming, right? Because we long have desired that kind of level of power to the people, so that people at the local level will make decisions. But one of the things I will encourage the CDC to do, maybe they have not thought about it in a deep way, is to encourage the Supreme Court to review the decision relative to the president appointing certain mayors. And the reason why I say this, and this will make a headline, is both the CDC and the Liberty Party prayed the Supreme Court to prevent the president from exercising such authority. If the CDC and Liberty Party then believe that it was wrong for the president to exercise that authority, now that the CDC have power, they can call for sanctuary rest. They can call for them to review that decision. Because that decision by the Supreme Court in 2008 was a bare majority decision. It was not a decision by common consensus. It was not a unanimous decision. It was a bare majority decision. The Chief Justice of the court at that time, Johnny Lewis, had to break the tie. So if the CDC still holds that view that we have to decentralize power, we have to empower our people to elect their leaders and to take the power away from the president, then they can call on the Supreme Court to review that decision. I think it would be better to do it that way. Now, to your question, but whether or not the President Weah will make it against a united CPP, I think it's going to be a difficult challenge if the CPP were to unite behind one candidate. It will be a difficult challenge for President Weah, to throw that team down. But again, I have concern with the CPP. Take, for example, the political leader of my party, to show that she has no concern about corruption, to show that she's undermining the CPP authority to make the moral argument against the CDC government, she has inveigled a guy who has been condemned internationally and locally for corruption to be chair of the party, a condemned FIFA fraudster. So if you have a condemned FIFA fraudster to serve as chairman of one of the members of the four political party in the collaboration, how do you then inspire confidence in our people that if you were to be president, you will be able to make a change or you will fight corruption in a decisive way? I say this because corruption has been one of the major challenges confronting the forward advance of Liberia. And if anybody wants to provide leadership for Liberia, they should be serious about the fight against corruption. Now, if you see the chairman has a team, the chairman eventually, if the CPP were to win, he will serve as the Spingali. And you know who the Spingalis are? Spingalis are people who exercise corrupt influence over leaders. So he's chairman for one of the constituent parties in the CPP. If the CPP were to lead, he will be influential. So how do we deal with the difficult dilemma confronting the CPP? The CPP has not been able to demonstrate convincingly that if it were to win election, it will have zero tolerance against corruption. That is my challenge with them, and that is my issue with the CPP.
Thank you, gentlemen. I want to thank you so much for the deliberation tonight. Now, we are out of time, unfortunately. Good discussion. But so I'll give each of you 59 seconds to make your final statement. Less than a minute. Let me start with Mr. Kuni, our chief political analyst.
Let Kuni clear all the way quick. Because the man is 100% CDC.
Mr. Kuni.
The CPP is in a dreamland if they think that they can win an election against George Weah. As I indicated, there are incredible, tremendous achievements of President Weah, despite the different challenges in our country. And if the trajectory of development continues under President Weah, I see a first round victory for the CDC. I mean, there are some things that need to be done. There are some things some work that has to be done politically for that result to come out. But what the president needs to do is to continue to do what he's doing. And if the trend of things continue like that going to 2023, I actually project a first round victory for the CDC.
Thank you. Mr. Tule.
I just want to draw a quick analogy. In 2018, in the U.S. How you call it, midterms election, the Republican Party lost a lot of seats, and it was a forecast of things to come, and they were in defiance, they were in denial, they did not change their ways. They insisted that the candidate was popular because when he hosted rallies, people would line up to go and see him. They forgot to know that demagoguery was at play. In Liberia, it's the same thing. One of the mistakes that Gray and other people are making is to take the people for granted. Because when I look at Grayson now, I even want to ask him, what have you done for your community, for your district, since you've been in power for more than 15 years now? Oh, no, was he the first? No, he took Rufus Berry from there. So Rufus Berry was first, so 6 plus whatever amount of years he has been there. And you see, it's because you take the people for granted, you take their favoritism, their fanaticism, and their love for George Weah for granted. And consequently, you are refusing to keep your eyes on the larger prize, to improve the material well-being of the people. Mr. Gray, let me just say something to you. When Madam Sali was president, I engaged the police. By that time, I was on your radio, Kings FM. I went to the police station, engaged the police people. I told them, I said, listen, it takes 3 hours in the morning sometimes for people to get from Pinsville to town, a road that is less than 11 miles or 10 miles to traverse that route in the morning. People take hours, and then in the evening hours.
Thank you.
No, Dennis, please let me say this to Greg. Why don't you use what they call lean control mechanisms? In the morning, you give 3 lanes for people coming from Pinsville to town. And in the evening, you give 3 lanes for people coming from town, since the majority of traffic flow in one way. As a result, you will decrease people spending money on gas sitting in traffic, spending money. Their children have to wake up 4 o'clock in the morning to get to school before the traffic builds up. I'm only saying this. When it comes to governance, Mr. Gray, these are the little things that translate into improving the material well-being of the people. Manasadi people refused to do it. They said that we were making, because they felt some of us were part of CDC at that time, and I wasn't. They felt that we were making unnecessary demands. I'm saying it to you now. Can you go and address that thing in the morning from maybe 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the morning? Everybody coming from Pinsville to town, 3 lanes. So you empty Pinsville quick into town. In the evening, from 4 going to 7, you turn the traffic the other way, 3 lanes going. You empty the town quickly, people get home and they can be able to live their lives. I'm only saying that these are the little things, sir, that translate into. So what you need to do and what you have failed to do and what you can do, because the 2 major prongs that your government run on, Twe and Maggie, their eyes are not on the price. They are very myopic. So that is my closing statement, or I don't know, that closing statement, whatever I'm making here. Yeah. You guys are not going to win an election because you are not doing anything to translate into the material well-being or improve the material well-being of the Liberian people. That's what I want to say.
Mr. Gray, you have 1 minute for your closing statements.
I think the issue of Troy Maggie is personal.
No, it's not.
And because it's personal, I wouldn't want to respond to that, because he keep reciting a political recitation here on Troy Maggie. The Tilly Lane issue that he's talking about has been put into place for almost a year now. Where in the morning you have Tilly lanes coming to the city, and in the evening while going, you have Tilly lanes leaving from the city center. Probably he has not been to Liberia for a very long time. If he been to Liberia within a period of 1 year, probably he didn't observe that. I just chose to correct him. I would love to look at infrastructure in my closing. For example, what FPRC has a very new, what Joseph Boyer did not do, for example, program renting private homes, etc. The National Port Authority has a new honor administration. The Liberian Maritime Authority is in no more private home, but has a new honor administration. The National Security Agency, for example, that we're talking about, we're also looking at the commencement of ERW to RIA rule. Light poles are being planted. Electrical lines are about to be taken from Morovia all the way to RIA from Bicano coming, the poles are being planted. A lot of things we're doing. The construction of the community rules over Montserrado County, for example, in other counties. We talk about digitalization of the University of Liberia, the declaration of tuition policy, for example, providing chairs in the recast budget, providing electricity, for example, what the president programs and legislative agenda have been presented to us. The enrollment of over 2,000 health workers will increase the pay of doctors in Liberia and teachers unprecedentedly. The construction of the Redemption Hospital and the 14 military hospital and other hospitals throughout the country.
Thank you.
I just want to say to you, just in less than 30 seconds, we are very open as a government to suggestions. Some of the things that I've been saying are very important in terms of having a vigorous agricultural revolution or building on some of the suggestions. It's very important. Let me appreciate your station. For me, it's one of the most objective and balanced programs.
Thank you.
We feel very comfortable on your program. We hope you maintain this standard no matter where we come from. And I just want to say to the opposition community that are in what we call Tata, a bunch of Tata Demalions that have no direction. They are like beheaded roosters, for example. Like today has considered to us that we could win election like Asa Jackson, for example. My mission now is to recruit Tule and Asa Jackson onto the Mali Coalition for Democratic Change. And we embrace some of the ideas they brought to the table. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Someone saying the shipping fee is too much, Mr. Gray.
Yeah. Well, by the APN terminal, let me just close on that. We're going to review the agreement with the APN terminal. They consider to that the first time in the history of the country. We invited Beaver today, the Senate subordinate. We are going to hold the management team, the senior management team in contempt. They must appear so we can look at the agreement. So this government is very determined to ensure that we look at the National Port Authority of the Republic of Liberia. We're clear on that. That is a legislative decision. I'll speak to you, heavily backed by the executive branch of government. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I hope to be on your program again.
Thank you.
Mr. Jackson. Yeah, thank you very much, Ja. Let me in concluding, let me press. I have a divergence of view on the thing that just cropped up with Mr. Gray and my friend Tule on the issue of the tail lane. You see, I don't think we should find cosmetic solution to our country's problem. If we are experiencing road congestion because of the increase in the volume of cars in the place there, then the legislature, when Mr. Gray works, let them put money in the budget and then they construct that road. We not create imaginary lane. You understand what I mean? I understand the concern you're raising today, but I think we should not create imaginary lane. We should put money in the budget and then we pave the road, we do the road. We put that additional lane there. Stop problem, case closed. Understand? But in closing, let me say this. I think there are few things I think the CDC should be focusing on now. My friend Gray, in talking about job creation, he referenced the tourism sector. I worked at the ministry before. That sector is being poorly financed. And if we know that it is a potential job creator, all right, then we need to put money in it. Even Ghana closed the tourism sector for 50 years and they invested in that. Training people who will serve in these hotels, training people restaurant people, how do they take care of people? I mean, facing the whole hotel. So there's a lot of things we can do with tourism. If we can put some money in tourism and invest, then we can get something out of it. So if we're talking tourism, we're not just talking like that. Because Mika has about $3 million in the budget. If you talk about personnel salary, you'll be left with maybe less than $1 million. $1 million can do something with tourism. So you need to put sufficient money in tourism.
No, pass the
You'll be
bill
getting
already.
investment out of it.
What's the history of the current president will sign that into law?
But
Thank
I haven't
you.
ended yet. Let me conclude my talk.
10 seconds, you're going to 2 minutes.
A few seconds. The other thing that they will need to focus on in a serious way, I think Gray expressed some concern about that before, is the economy. We got to focus on the economy, we got to focus on security, and we got to focus on the rule of law. In the absence of security and the rule of law, the market economy will not function effectively. Because people who want to invest their money in the country, they got to be sure that when they go to court, they will get judgment. They want to be sure that they got security in the country. So we need to focus on those areas. Thank you very much for having me. I think of the for you guys, and thank you again.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being here tonight. I want to also thank our viewers for staying here tonight with us as we discuss Josh Weah and his prospects for 2023. Always keep it here at Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Tomorrow we will have our literary hour at 6 o'clock, where it's all about literature. This Saturday we're going to have former members of the Press Union of Liberia coming here on Focus on Liberia. They have rated the U.S. government. They are complaining about the printing of money and other things. We'll have them here to explain. And then on Sunday we're going to discuss transitional justice. Brilliant Liberian lady studying a PhD in London is going to be here to discuss transitional justice. You don't want to miss all these exciting programs coming up here at Focus on Liberia. Again, I want to thank all of you for coming. We remember that we are all Liberians, and that's one thing we all want to remember. Whether they consider you dual citizen or single citizen, whether you are alien, whether you are for the CDC, the CPP, or you are like me, no position. You are like my man from Sastown, just as the president. Oh, you are from
Sastown, man.
No, not me. Not my man.
I can't get him.
Mama, you want to recruit everybody on the show, Mama?
Like the political bulldog here, Anthony, we all say we are all Liberians, and whatever you do, it should be geared towards making our country the glorious land of liberty. I'd like for Anthony to have the final word, Mr. Sunitsia.
Dennis, I think it was a great discussion. I enjoyed the format of the discussion, especially coming to the middle and to the end. I think the panelists also realized that we can all improve on this and have a substantive discussion free of insults so that the listeners, when they leave from here, they will say, yes, I want to listen to that show again. That's the best we can give the listeners, because if nobody listening, we will all not be here. And as we give them the opportunity to listen to each person as they speak without interruption, I think they will find reason to come, and then they will take away a lot of things from the discussion. That is the best way we can promote a discussion that can not only represent ourselves, but also the country we all love. Let's promote the dialogue, the conversation in a meaningful way. Honorable Gray, I want to say thank you. We will always call on you to come here. Folks in the opposition are also welcome to come on this platform.
We don't want that man here.
We respect everybody. Mr. Jackson, thank you. It is almost 12 o'clock at your end, and you are still here because you love our country. Mr. Tule, thank you. The chief political analyst of Focus on Liberia, the CDC PAPD, they call him. You know, we are here. And many of you know, for me, I'm a equal opportunity attacker. If I see Waka doing something, I attack. I see Gray doing something, I attack. That's how I roll. This is what we want. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming and elevating the discussion. I appreciate you all.
And just one word. Anything you see tonight that was or in the country that is complete tabata, just say it in 2 seconds. Mr. Kune, what's your tabata? Mr. Tule, anything
The
Tabata you want
traffic
But you see,
situation, Mr. Gray said it has
that
been done with. That traffic situation in Monrovia is Tabata. Because major cities in the world, including where I live now, all the major cities have link control for major traffic times.
Thank you.
They allocate link because sometimes there's no space to build new roads.
Yeah. Mr. Kune, any Tabata in the country you want to mention? CDC Papa, what wrong with your phone?
The man.
Worker exception on loan that complete Tabata.
Mr. Gray, you see any Tabata?
I said, worker exception that you living on loan that complete Tabata.
We got you. Mr. Gray, any Tabata?
I just wanted to say something. I think former minister as a struck a very important point about expanding the road between Central Town and EAW. We're expanding from EAW to RIA, from EAW Raleigh all the way going. So I think it's a very important point. It's very important that we must take note. The Tabata is that the inability of the opposition to recognize the fact that they have power. Their political leaders have performed in government is very dismal, and Cummings is a novice, not just a neophyte, but someone who does not understand the political terrain. All of that.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson, any Tabata in the country you see?
Mr. Gray is Tabata.
The Tabata I see is the opposition people being supremely relaxed with individuals who are utterly corrupt. That is a complete Tabata.
Mr. C.A.
Then I see two Tabatas. One, a CDC and a CDC government that has exercised.
Hold
on, Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Jackson, you hijacking me. I see two Tabata. I see a CDC and a CDC government, including Gray, who all have ostracized their own brothers and sisters who struggle with them. And to this point, I don't know what level of advocacy Akaros is making on behalf of these soldiers who march with them in the trenches. That is the greatest Tabata I've ever seen on the side of the city. That is repugnant.
That part of the discussion tonight.
The man said he see it. He didn't say part of the discussion.
You are all just coming to ask the people who can inform you. But the little parents the presiding
Mr. Gray, you're trying to filibuster me. You're trying to filibuster me.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much. They say you introduce a new thing. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
My final Tabata is on the opposition. The opposition up to now is yet to come up with a candidate. They don't have a clear-cut defined primary process that will involve the participation of the Liberian people. They're talking about consensus, just to say we in 1950. Complete Tabata.
A level you.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. The Tabata is on all front, right? When people come to the discussion, they should be able to see whatever Gray says or whatever Tule says, they should be able to evaluate that based on their own value judgment. Say, okay, what he's saying is right or it's wrong. Don't say, oh, you're saying this because you CDC or you're saying this because you're opposition. That on the side of the general public is complete Tabata. And on that note, let's remember we are all Liberians and all we're doing is to make this country the glorious land of liberty. Good night and God bless you.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.